All right, so let me know if you can hear me in the back. I'm a very soft-spoken guy, so I apologize. Well, let's kick this off. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to come down here on Friday morning. I know it's work week, work day, everybody's busy, so we'll go through this quickly. We're here to talk about space. Obviously, with my background in aeronautics, I was asked to speak. Actually, I know nothing about space, but what I do know is uncomfortable spaces, facing fears, and embracing failure. And be ready, Nathan. So, facing these fears, and I'm going to tell you, I was so panicked last night as I was putting this slide together, because as I was talking to a few of you earlier, there is a fear of being judged by your peers, and my heart is pounding. I'm sure you can hear it on the video. But to use this font and to have it completely screwed up is like, I am just panicking now, because as designers, you're looking at this going, who is this guy and what was he thinking when he put the slide together? So I'm letting you judge me. It's completely uncomfortable for me, but I want to be in that uncomfortable space. It's through that uncomfortable space that we're able to develop innovative ideas and completely grow. So honestly, how many of you evaluated me based on this slide as soon as you saw it? Okay, it's a few of you. So you're witnessing me face my fears, like in front of you. Aside from public speaking, which terrifies me, being judged by other designers is a fear that I'm sure we all face. But again, it's within these uncomfortable spaces, that's better. It's within these uncomfortable spaces that we are able to grow. So you have to constantly create these uncomfortable spaces for yourself to avoid complacency and getting set in your ways and your processes. Sometimes what happens is you become so complacent that your solutions, your processes, the methods that you achieve these solutions becomes so second nature that you don't realize that you're not growing and those around you are growing past you. It's this discomfort that can create these pivotal moments anytime for everyone. So we all have these pivotal moments. And it's these pivotal moments that allow us to take new directions in our life. Personally, I was born into poverty in Colombia. That's me on the sweet little bike. But I love this image because it reminds me of how oblivious I was to the spaces around me as a child. And as you grow, as you mature and you grow with those around you, these spaces, your environment begins to shape your decision making. Again, with the Comic Sans slide, I didn't want to do it because I didn't want you to see it. The slide in and of itself isn't offensive. It doesn't affect me. I'm still alive. I showed it. I'm breathing. Nothing happened. But I've actually grown because I have faced a fear in front of you. So again, I was born in Colombia, South America, into poverty. This is Christian Children's Fund type poverty. Flash forward a few years, my dad moves us to New York. Somehow he gets a job at the Plaza Hotel. So within that space of time, from when I was born to when I was 4, I'd experienced these two polar opposite spaces. I had grown up on dirt floors, and now here I am at 4 years old running through the halls of the Plaza. Everything I saw there, the art, the tapestries, the people, there was so much to learn from everybody there and everything that you saw around you. I know because I asked, and at that age I realized that asking these uncomfortable questions as a 4-year-old of people who are much older than you and are much more experienced than you, you're able to learn and you're able to grow. As my dad's career continued to excel, we moved to Hawaii. At this point, I learned how to surf, I learned how to sculpt, paint, I became a chef's apprentice by the time I was 17. At 17, I moved to California where I enlisted in the Marines. And here I basically had no choice but to follow this disciplined set of processes. And I had to embrace discomfort in these uncomfortable spaces that you put yourself in. And after the Marines, I worked my way into this gopher position at a firm in Laguna Beach with this woman, Angie, and she forced me to embrace and love these uncomfortable spaces. She would bring me into meetings with clients that I had no business being in, and basically sitting there, listening, shutting up, and taking notes. Because of this, I'm getting nervous. It's like my mouth is getting all cotton-mouthy. But it's good because that means that I'm facing a fear in front of you. And my hand is shaking. So she let me be her eyes on press. I learned about mixing inks, how to operate machinery, equipment, these different things that I had never experienced before in these new spaces that I had never thought I would be in. It was through that process that I learned to love production and mass production. I left Angie, and I went to work with a company ran by this man named Bruce Parker. He provided mentorship and in-depth training in mass production and manufacturing. I left the comfort of a firm life for the discomfort of mass production, where it's dirty, it's filthy, people cuss and swear and smoke, and it's disgusting, but you learn a lot because you're hands-on. You come home and you smell like chemicals, and nobody appreciates the work that you do because it's dirty and behind the scenes. But again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of these people that pushed me to be in these uncomfortable spaces. And of course, learning through failure. Over the past 7 years, I've been at Design Packaging, where the CEO, Chris Turbyfield, and Marcia Ray, they have been mentors of mine, more mentors of mine. We've built a team consisting of designers, industrial designers, product developers, as well as we've incorporated manufacturing, logistics, operations experts, and to build this collaborative process. Each one of these moments has had a level of discomfort, but I was lucky enough to have people around me that could push me to be in these spaces. So again, my name is Evelio Mattos. I'm the creative director of Design Packaging. We're a luxury packaging firm in Scottsdale, Arizona. We've had the opportunity to work with some pretty cool clients in both lead and supporting roles over the last years. So with every project, we challenge ourselves to improve, grow, and evolve as a team, and individually as designers. Some designers I've worked with that are in this room, some that are currently working with me. That mindset has allowed us to shift the needs. I just realized there was 2 cameras. Sorry, guys. To shift the needs of the project, how we start, how we process, who's in the lead role. It's not always me, and that's the beauty of having this wide variety of partners with all these different backgrounds. Everyone has a little something different to bring to the table. Our methods are simple. We build fast, we failed faster, and failure is mandatory, and then we repeat. If you don't fail, you aren't trying hard enough, and you slowly become complacent in your processes. Either you evolve or you disappear. Tupac. So like I said, I'm terrified of public speaking, but I challenge myself to speak at the How Design Live conference. And speaking to Jess earlier, she challenged herself to create this because of her fear of public speaking. And the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. And I went to the How conference to speak in front of hundreds of people because I figured if I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fail big. That was my first public speaking event ever. I did it. I didn't pass out. I didn't die. I'm still breathing. Here I am. I'm doing it again because I don't want to get comfortable in this space. I met some great people. We solidified some relationships. And by speaking at that gig, it opened me up to a whole new world that I hadn't experienced before. I'll be having this discussion, I'll be having the same discussion that I had at the How conference in Virginia, Boston, and Miami this year. So a year ago, if you would have said, you're going on a speaking tour, I would have told you you're crazy. But I put myself in that position, and new opportunities have come from it. So if I hadn't taken that opportunity and knowing how uncomfortable I would be in it, I wouldn't be here right now. Complacency kills creativity. Fear of failure kills growth. Now, how many of you have felt that you've stayed in your comfort zone for too long? Perfect. How many of you are afraid of public speaking? You're not afraid of it? Oh, okay. I know that you're afraid of public speaking, but we are going to change that right now. Nathan, come on up. We're going to use this space to challenge his fear of public speaking. So I want you to read this. There's a poem that Nathan's going to read, and I'll flip through the slides for you. Okay?
First of all, your logo has to be just as impactful in black and white if you start there. If your logo is not powerful in black and white, no problem. Then there's a problem. Oh no. If your logo isn't powerful, very, very small, then there's a problem. If your logo collapses when you blow it up really, really big, then there's a problem. If your logo can't transform itself to other things and you still know what a logo is, then there's a problem. So your logo should have all those things in the new world, where it's symbolic, has some type of meaning. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
That represents your brands and companies. I don't even like to use the word brand. Your companies, if the logo doesn't represent the company's objective on a symbolic level, right? Wait, sorry, let me start that again. Your companies, if the logo doesn't represent the company's objective,
keep going.
On a symbolic level, right? Because you have to think what India is going to do to the world. We know what Silicon Valley did to the world. We know what China does for the world. India is going to do for the world
Keep going.
is to create the symbolic language, because India is unique. They speak English, but they have a different alphabet. They're going to add a whole new type of visual connecting language to the planet, you know? And symbology and logos are going to play a big role on that. Understanding something just by looking at a logo or different symbols, a new type of language, a new type of font, will emerge an understanding of symbols.
Okay. So Nathan, so Nathan just read a transcript from will.i.am's discussion on the Wall Street Journal about logos. I don't know if you've seen it or heard of it, but it was horrible. But I thought it was perfect for this because it made absolutely no sense and you had no practice and you weren't ready for this. So how do you feel, Nathan?
I wish I would have prepared for that.
Are you going to pass out?
No, I feel like.
Okay. Are you shaking?
What's that?
Are you shaking?
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Okay. Was that out of your comfort zone?
Does it happen?
Were you out of your comfort zone?
Yes.
Okay. And if you have to do this, if you have to do it again, would it be easier for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like if I went back up and
Perfect. So because of taking him out of his comfort zone and putting him into this uncomfortable space, he's grown and you've witnessed it. It's not, incredible Hulk growth, but it is something small that he can take with him, an experience that we've all shared. So the takeaways here is to seek out discomfort, get into these uncomfortable spaces. Comfort is overrated. Make the choice to face fear each year. I've faced public speaking this year. I've got some other things for next year. And start planning out in this method where you can change your life slowly by facing these fears. What are you afraid of?
I'm not going to say to do it.
So, but face that this year. You've got 6 months to knock some things out. And that's what I'm challenging you to do. Don't allow yourself to become complacent. Challenge yourself, and if you don't know how, you can call me, you can Google me, Facebook me, call me. I will challenge you, and I'll bring you up here like I did with Nathan. And you're tasked with at least one failure today. When you go back to work, when you go back to your office, whatever it is that you're doing, take a new perspective on it. Look at it from a different angle. Challenge yourself to fail. Through failure, you're going to grow. But it's not just about failing. It's about learning what you've, gathering some information from that failure and learning from it. And then post it on, on the Facebook Phoenix Designers Group. This is how I failed, this is what I learned. And if it's embarrassing, even better. The more embarrassing, the more entertaining, and the more you're actually going to grow. So that was my talk. It was pretty short. But I've got some stuff on stuff that we do as a packaging company. If you're interested, I can go through it. Yes? Okay. Perfect. So, this is a project that we worked on for Barney's and Lady Gaga. So Barney's calls our office. This is a couple years ago. And when Barney's calls your office, I mean, you're high-fiving because it's pretty cool. I mean, we're in the middle of the desert, and this company is in New York, and they can pick and choose whoever they want in New York, and they call us in Scottsdale. So of course, after we're done high-fiving, they tell us they've got an event, they need an invitation, it's with Lady Gaga, and it's gonna be this global thing. It's pretty frightening. So what we do is based on our process, which is always asking how much, how many, and when, at the beginning of every process, of every project, we find out the timeline on this is critical. It's 8 weeks with no design, no production schedule, and it has to deliver to New York so that they can ship this event invitation out with enough time for people to RSVP, essentially. So those timelines are always critical. In this case, they've got a great budget, they have no timeline, and the quantities are extremely low. So with 8 weeks, what we do is while we're still on the phone call, we bring in logistics, design. Nathan, you were part of this. And we determine if we can even do this project or not. So here's kind of what the timeline looked like. Based on mass production on anything, we had a 5-week lead time, then we had a week to ship, which left us with 2 weeks for creative. 2 weeks for creative on a new client on something that's this big is not very much time. So we have no time to prepare actually pre-production samples. Everything we have to build is in-house. John, I think you were a part of this also. So we let Barney's know up front. It's really uncomfortable because you want to take this project with all of your heart. But you have to tell them, you're not going to get a pre-production sample. You're not going to see anything for color. You're not going to see anything for structure other than what we build in-house. And we ask them, are they ready to take that are they ready to take that challenge? Are they ready to trust us, somebody that they've never worked with? And they say yes. So our process is to sketch. There are a ton of these for this. This is happening while we're still on the call. This happens after the call. We sketch, we take notes, we scan, email, Skype, show everything up front. And we wanted to create this feeling of a Barney's being taken over by Lady Gaga. So this explosive packaging, this explosive invitation. So when we hang up, basically what we've got is this pop-up concept, this concept on the far left, which is sort of a diorama. I don't know if you've ever made one, other than when you were like in 3rd grade, but that's it's pretty cool. And then this other box that you lift up, and there's fur and all these other crazy products in. So once they make sense on paper and you explain it to the client, we start building mock-ups. So there's the one in the middle is the diorama. It opens up with these wings. When it's closed, it looks like a Barney's box. And all these prototypes are happening behind the scenes with scissors, tape, just very crude, just to figure out how things work, how things function, the math and the geometry involved. Again, it's our process is to build fast, fail fast, and repeat. And through these, there's an evolution that happens here through these failures. Well, it may not work here, may be applied to something else, and it's an evolutionary process, so your design never quite looks like what you started out as. And we know that from the get-go. So once the structure's dialed in, once we've figured out the math and the geometry, how things are going to pop up, the best way to get the biggest bang for your buck upon opening this box, we start mocking things up. We start moving into visual. We always do structure first. Structure is key for us. And we present these completed in-house mock-ups for concept. So once they approve this structure, this explosive invitation, we start printing these out in-house. We start mocking them up, and they're agreeing based on these rough concepts. There's not enough time to overnight things, so it's just through photos. So there's a lot of trust. There's a lot of discomfort. Having a client like this that you can essentially screw up a relationship, and not only that, but also ruin your own reputation. So executing at this maximum velocity on this clearly defined object allowed us to create this design within 2 weeks. Mass production went smooth, so we had the 5 weeks. Creative was actually executed a little bit faster, so we delivered a week early on this, which was amazing for us. High five all around. And then last year they call us and say, okay, we want to do it again. This time we've got a little bit more time. So last year they had 14 weeks instead of 8. We still worked within an 8-week timeline because of how well this went, and just the amount of failure that we had here. We knew that it would help increase the impact of the next invitation. We didn't want to become complacent, knowing that we had more time. That is that's the actual invitation. So it's a holographic card that for the event you walked in, you showed it to them, and then you got in and hung out with Lady Gaga. I was a really crappy uncle. I sent this to my niece like the day after, and yeah, she was really bummed. But you have to push yourself to strive for these unrealistic goals in order to fail and in order to grow. Otherwise, you're never gonna fail, and then you'll never learn from those mistakes. So last year, again, we had this 14-week timeline. We executed in 8. No background in electronics or LED wiring, but I knew we wanted to do something with lights. The Electric Holiday was based on Barney's and Disney's getting together and creating this event. Just from my personal memories of Disney, this electric light parade, some of you might be too young to know this. They do this LED parade that would just come down, and it was ridiculously gaudy, but it was Disney for everybody. So we created this. This isn't Photoshop, this is the actual box. We've got 16 lights in here. There's a two-way mirror on the front and a mirror on the back, so it creates this infinity tunnel. Initially, I wanted this box to be bigger and have more lights, so it was a lot brighter, but then you run into issues with structure, size, the number of batteries, weight, and then your pricing, and everything gets skewed. So it's this fine balance that you have to work with. Everything we did, I went to a tint shop to mock some of these things up. I got some reflective tints and created these false mirrors to make sure that everything was going to work properly, the distances were set. A lot of this was done in 3D as well to make sure that everything was functioning properly. But this was an amazing project. This was a lot of fun. That is like this big. And then the Lady Gaga box is about twice the size of that. Also last year we created the Holiday Sephora packaging. And personally, I love origami, love pop-up structures, and just these amazing things that you can do with paper that doesn't require a lot of printing. See, I've been speaking here for like 20 minutes, and I'm feeling a little better, but I'm still getting caught now. And the more you do this, the more you put yourself outside of your comfort zone, the easier it becomes. So this was last year's holiday gift card gift program. The product on the front is a gift card carrier. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sephora's gift card carriers. It's this program that works really well for them. And what it is you come in, you purchase a gift card, and they slip it into some type of a box, and it's a mirrored compact and a gift card, and you give it as a gift. So anybody here that needs to get a gift, that's a killer gift for anybody, men, women. So what they did is they presented us with some concepts that they had in mind. They had these amazingly intricate laser cut pieces. They wanted to do these Mylar structures, but laser cutting on Mylar is incredibly difficult. Because the heat is instantaneous, the Mylar is so weak that it melts and you see burn marks everywhere. So basically we have to sit with them and tell them, you've got great concepts, you've hired an amazing team, but what you've developed is impossible to produce. We did do some test runs on the Mylar laser cut, and basically it would have taken about a year to produce their volume because of how slow the process was. So internally we designed some new concepts that worked with what they were developing, which was this holiday program that looked like a mashup of a Fabergé egg and Tron. So there was a lot of Mylars, clears, lights, reflective. It was crazy. So what we developed here is this project, which was fun. We mocked things up in-house. Again, it's the same ton of sketches for different concepts. We mock them up in-house. So here's some mock-ups. We test everything. Here's kind of the final run on this. But through the sketching, we sketch a ton. I think it's extremely important that you sketch. It allows you to solve structural problems, structural issues. Maybe push yourself a little bit further because sketching, it's not permanent, and you can toss paper all you want. There's a ton of it. But recycle. So, sketch like crazy. We mock things up and we test different materials. And once we've land on the proper combination of the three, we moved into mass production. This was awesome, and this was a great holiday program that we did. And we're working on this year's. We're wrapping this year's up. So that's a little bit about what we do for packaging. And that's my time, and I want to thank Nathan for coming up here. Everybody, Nathan was awesome. And if you have any questions, let me know.